Good afternoon, everyone, all of our community stakeholders and business partners. Thank you all for joining us for our November 18th community update. Just to get an update on Cowan Place and all things Stop 6 of the Choice Neighborhood Transformation. And we will turn it over to our wonderful Fort Worth City Councilwoman, Gina Bibbins.
Thank you, Lachelle. What a lot of people don't know is my middle name is Michelle. And so we've got something in common besides the love for Stop 6. This being the final day of the celebration of the life of Don Babers puts me in a very somber mood. And so if you will, allow me to share some rambling thoughts with the audience. I don't know if people on this call are old enough to remember, but back in the late 90s, there were protests in Dallas because the head of the Dallas Housing Authority had the nerve to want to build public housing at the intersection of Frankfurt and Marsh, North Dallas. People were stunned, shocked, did not like it, even protested. When I think about public housing and the public's reaction to it, we have seen some maturity take place. After Hurricane Katrina, this country had the opportunity to wipe out public housing as we knew it and start anew, leaving something that took away that red scarlet letter of poverty, mixed income housing. And when I take a look at the work that Mary Margaret and team have done to plan for this revitalization of the Cabell footprint, it truly will bring us mixed income housing. But it's going to do more than that. It's going to provide job opportunities for people in the neighborhood because, that's a regulation that everyone is embracing. And it's bringing this very different team together that's going to make things much better in Stop 6. I've told people I was born in Stop 6 and I plan on dying in Stop 6, but no time soon. But thanks to the revitalization of Stop 6, staying here is a lot more pleasant to think about. And so with that, I say thank you to Mary Margaret and your entire team. And with that, if you will, the program is yours.
Thank you, Gina. We appreciate you being here today. And when you said love for Stop 6, it resonated because I was scrolling through all of our attendees. And as usual, you've all turned out for Stop 6. So I was just looking at it. All of our friends from the city are on. Cook Children's, Texas Wesleyan. We've got Lily Biggins in the house today. Our library friends, the faith-based community, Texas Workforce. Our good friends over at Texas Housers and Legal Aid of Northwest Texas are on the line. The Blue Zones are here. And last but not least, our partners in DC out of our Choice Neighborhood office, Caroline, from the HUD office is on too. So welcome to everybody. Thank you for taking time out of your afternoon to get an update on what's happening. We are just so excited. There's been a lot of work and there's still a lot to come, but we are really pleased with where we are. So I'm going to turn it over to Lachelle. You're in good hands. She'll be the MC for the afternoon, and I can't wait to hear what's in store.
Right. Let's acknowledge some of our other great partners on the line. I will say that as we gather back together January 21, early part of January 21, we will notice that a lot of change will take place. And so just be on the lookout for our next update. January 2021, keep that marked on your calendar. We want to acknowledge our chairwoman of Fort Worth Housing Solution, Board Commissioner Terry Attaway, who is our board chair, and then our Commissioner Danny Scar. Thank you for attending with us today. Ann Zeta, Fort Worth City Councilwoman of District 9. Leslie Ann Bradley, our Regional Deputy Administrator for HUD here, Region 6. And Dr. Gwen Morrison of Tarrant County College District Trustee. Thank you for joining us today. I will turn it over to Lou Bernardi, who is the Senior VP of Texas McCormick Barron Salazar, as well as Gary Caldwell, who is the CEO of Fort Worth-based One Priority Environmental Services. Jason Keller is also joining us today, who is the founder and managing partner of Block Companies here, who is the general contractor for Cowan Place. So go ahead, Lou.
Thank you, Lachelle, very much. And Good afternoon, everybody. Thank you again for taking the time from your busy schedules to join us today. And hello to many of the folks that Mary Margaret referenced. Glad you're on the call. And to folks that are just joining us for the first time, welcome. The update that Mr. Caldwell and I will be providing today will be focused on the environmental abatement and the demolition work that is happening on the Cabell Place site. Gary Caldwell's firm, One Priority Environmental Services, was selected as the contractor to execute the abatement and the demolition of the 63 buildings that are currently on site. I'll give you a little bit of information, then I'll be turning it over to Gary. He'll give you more in-depth information about what's going on the site and some of the opportunities that his firm is offering and maybe presenting to other businesses, as well as some potential employment opportunities related to this work. As I said, One Priority is an environmental services company, and one of their skill sets is doing abatement work on properties like Cabell, and following through then with the demolition of the work so that we can clear the site in anticipation of the new development that will be occurring on Cabell and some of the adjacent parcels. This is work that we as the developer are overseeing on behalf of Fort Worth Housing Solutions. So we're happy to certainly be involved, and it's facilitates our transition from this phase of abatement and demolition to the planning and design work that will occur on the site. So Gary's firm has started the abatement work, as those of you that are on the ground may have seen. The work began on November 9th. The demolition will continue, or will start once multiple buildings are abated and it's safe for the demolition to occur. I think Gary will talk a little bit about that in terms of the sequencing. And in terms of the future for Cabell and some of the adjoining parcels, just a reminder that these sites will be the locations for our second, third, and fourth mixed income housing phases, as well as the community hub that is in planning right now on a portion of the site. Next slide, please. So Gary, if you wouldn't mind maybe talking about your firm a little bit and getting into the scope and the sequencing of the work.
All right, thank you, Lou, and thank you everybody for allowing us to participate. Looking forward to it. Again, my name is Gary Caldwell, and I'm the founder and president of One Priority Environmental Services. We are a Fort Worth-based company, started here in 2003. We do have 8 locations in Texas, Louisiana, and Atlanta, Georgia, but Fort Worth was our first. It remains our headquarters. It's our biggest location. It's where we call home. So being right down the street from the Cabell Place project is a real treat for us. So we did start the asbestos abatement on November 9th and expect to finish the abatement portion mid-February of 2021. And to fast track this project, demolition is going to start shortly after abatement. It'll start in December, and it should finish around March of 2021. So here's exactly what we're doing related to the asbestos abatement. As you likely know, building materials that contain asbestos are regulated and must follow, or their removal must follow very specific state and federal guidelines by licensed companies with certified and trained employees. If these asbestos materials were to be removed improperly or not removed at all prior to demolition, the asbestos fibers would become dislodged from within these materials and migrate to the surrounding communities. Those fibers could get into the grounds, the soil, and they could also create potential health risks for the employees that work on that site and the communities that might live there in the future. So, the asbestos is mainly in the flooring and the ceiling texture and some of the sheetrock walls in the Cabell Place. It's on some of the piping and in some of the exterior components of the building. It's a small percentage within these building materials, and isn't a health risk until it's disturbed. So just walking around the building or being inside the buildings as they sit now, or even living in them, isn't a health risk. But during the removal of these materials, as we're doing prior to demolition, asbestos is a health and environmental concern because it's being disturbed. So this is why we go through these regulated and required steps. So because of this concern and necessity, including laws for the proper removal, here's what you'll see if you go out to the site or you live in and around the area. So first of all, for the safety of the employees, as well as the surrounding public, there will be site security and perimeter fencing demarking our work area. This is important for both the abatement task and the demolition that follows. Next, you'll see plastic over windows and doorways with danger asbestos signs. We don't want asbestos fibers escaping from our work areas. Inside the buildings, any surface that's not coming out as asbestos waste will be covered with at least 2 layers of plastic sheeting. You'll also see HEPA filtered air exhausting out of the buildings, from the windows through specific ports. This is HEPA filtered clean air coming out of the buildings during the abatement phase, and this is required to keep asbestos fibers from leaving. They're filtered. It also provides a cleaner space for the workers while they're inside, and it also helps evacuate the space for the fibers when we get our eventual clearances. So these are the steps that you would, well, so moving back, so once the guys are inside, any surface that's not being removed is covered with plastic. The workers are inside, they're with their disposable suits and respirators, removing material wet. That material is double bagged, it's labeled, it's taken to a landfill for proper disposal. There will be some removal that you'll see on the outside of the buildings. This is going to be window caulking and some of the roofing masticks. That work isn't done inside containment, but it is done by workers inside, wearing suits and respirators. As an added safety measure, there will be a third-party firm doing air monitoring, both inside the buildings, outside the buildings, and then also at the conclusion of each project to make sure that the space is going to be clean for the next phase. Each employee that is going to be on site will be properly certified and trained. He's got their current physicals, and they'll be in the proper full-body disposable coveralls and respirators. If we go to slide 7, of course, there are the dates again, and here's a sequence of some of the tasks that we have, some of which we're still seeking assistance. So the clean out of contents and debris before we start our abatement process has to be done. That's something where we're seeking some assistance, followed by our abatement activities. Fencing is going up as we speak. SWIP, stormwater pollution prevention activities for erosion control and further compliance is being put in place. There's got to be electrical disconnects. Requirements there are mandatory, and we've got Section 3 opportunities there. We'll need plumbing disconnects. We need Section 3 opportunities there. Of course, there'll be demolition of the structure and removal of underground utilities, followed by site stabilization. So moving on to slide 8, though much of our work is being self-performed by our licensed abatement crews and with the equipment of a demolition subcontractor, we will meet or exceed our MWBE goals and meet or exceed our goals for Section 3 of hiring individuals in subcontractor businesses. We welcome and are still seeking Section 3 and NWBE providers to help us successfully complete this portion of the work. So to assist us and to help those that are interested in getting involved, we ask that they contact DLB consultants for information on open hiring and contracting opportunities. And you'll see DLB's contact information here. Thank you, and we're looking forward to providing this service for you guys.
Thank you, Gary.
What is SWIP?
Stormwater pollution prevention plan. You might see the little 2 and 3 foot tall dark green erosion control fencing. You'll have requirements so that soil isn't tracked off into the workspace. If you've got stormwater issues or water, we don't want that migrating outside of the workspace. So it's just one more measure that we perform and are required to from an environmental protection standpoint.
Right. Thank you, Gary, very much for that overview. So next, we are transitioning to an update on Cowan Place, which is the development site for new senior housing, and is the first phase of the overall choice neighborhood implementation development plan. One of our other members of our development team, who's introduced earlier by Lachelle, is Jason Keller, who's representing the block companies and is the general contractor that was selected to work with the team to eventually construct the new building and the site improvements for the project. What you see in front of you on this slide right now is a rendering of the Rosedale elevation. And what you're looking at is south from the north side of the street. And so you can see, it gives you a sense of what the building will look like in terms of colors, materials, etc. The idea also is to make sure that there is a healthy amount of landscaping and improvements in the right of way, including pedestrian lighting for folks walking along the front of the property and along the street, and to promote more of a safe, well-lit environment as folks walk through around the property and in the neighborhood. Next slide, please. This gives you a different perspective. If you're standing on the corner of Stallcup and Rosedale looking towards the southwest, again, you see the perspective of Rosedale and sort of the orientation of the entry to the property along Stallcup. If you could just roll the cursor around that part of the that entry driveway there on the Stallcup side, that would be the main entrance to the building for folks to drop off, come and visit, visitor parking. There are multiple entrances to the building, but that will be the primary. Again, which I think you see is a very sort of modern design and features that really make a statement, we believe, welcoming folks to the community. That glass structure that you see in the center of that rendering really is purposeful and sort of I think Councilwoman Bivens made the remark in a previous meeting, sort of a lantern lighting the way to the community. At night, it will be lit. Those areas are actually lounges for residents to enjoy during the day, or to be able to sit down, read a book, or conversation with their fellow residents or visitors. So this gives you a pretty good idea of what the building will look like. We are in design still right now, working through various elements of the design work, obviously the interior, exterior work, and it's progressing very well. We've had a lot of input from the community and a lot of input from stakeholders, and certainly our partners. So we're very pleased with the progress that we've made so far. Next slide, please. This again just gives you a sense of the site. It's a little over 5 acres. It's property that is owned by Fort Worth Housing Solutions, which is clear advantage, obviously, in terms of being able to proceed with the work without having to worry about acquiring additional property. Again, bounded by East Rosedale, Andrews Avenue, Stallcup, and to the south by the Cutman Court. So again, just to give you a sense of the location, if folks are joining us for the first time, may not be aware of the exact location of the site, this is where the new development, this new development will be. Next slide, please. So in terms of the unit mix for Cowan Place Senior Living, this will be 100% affordable development. It will also provide an opportunity for current or former Cabell residents to have a right to return to this initial development if they qualify, certainly by age. But there are 48 what are called public housing replacement units that essentially will have project-based vouchers attached to those units and will be able to accommodate, again, individuals or households that want to return to the community and be a resident of the senior living complex. There are also units that would be set aside as permanent supportive housing in conjunction with the city's policy to incorporate permanent supportive housing in mixed income developments. And the other units will be supported with low-income housing tax credits, again, providing an affordable opportunity for households. There'll be one-bedroom apartments, primarily 163 total one-bedroom apartments and 11 two-bedroom apartments in the building, along with a series of various amenities, both interior and exterior, large community rooms, as I said, gathering areas, library, an area for a salon, area for MD or other visits for folks to have those visits on site. So there'll be a series of internal or interior amenities for folks that will live there, as well as, which you'll see in future presentations, a really nice layout relative to exterior amenities for residents that will be living at Cowan. Next, please. So in terms of our financing, this is again not these developments are complex in that they require a lot of coordination, participation, different funding sources. We're very fortunate, really, that Fort Worth Housing Solutions has led the way relative to participation here in terms of the site and covering other costs. The city of Fort Worth has stepped up in addition to provide some financing for the development. We will be seeking tax credits from the state agency, the Texas Department of Housing and Community Affairs, TDHCA. We're on schedule to apply for those credits in December. We have a bond reservation that will help with the construction financing. And we expect an award of the low-income housing tax credits in March and be able to proceed with what we call financial closing, when our investors and lenders come in and we all sign off and close the deal and are ready to issue a notice to proceed to Jason and his team at Block to begin construction in April of 2021. And that will proceed through November, we believe, of 2022. After about a year construction, I think we'll be in a position to begin pre-leasing, getting qualified residents, applications processed, approved, etc., so that when the building is ready and the certificate of occupancy is issued, we'll be able to move folks in beginning November or hopefully before that of 2022. Next slide, please. As Gary mentioned, overall, the choice neighborhood, for choice neighborhood implementation, there's a series of participation goals that Fort Worth Housing Solutions, the city of Fort Worth, and we as the developer have worked on and will have throughout the multiple phases of development here. For construction, for minority and women-owned business enterprises, the participation goal is 25% of contracts. For professional services, it's 15%. As mentioned earlier, there's also a Section 3 hiring. So 1 out of every 3 new hires, our goal is to have that hire be a Section 3 eligible individual. There's also contracting goals for Section 3 businesses. Again, starting with the demolition and proceeding through Cowan Place senior living, and then again through each and every one of the phases that we have as part of the overall redevelopment plan. And then Section 3 businesses that are non-construction related, 3% of a total contract amount. So those are our goals. We will strive to meet and or exceed those goals in at every opportunity. So we hope that those businesses, those individuals that have a desire to participate, please contact DLB Consultants. Demetria Bivens is doing a great job on the ground in Fort Worth with her team, reaching out and explaining the opportunities as they come. And there'll also be continued notices about those opportunities on the Stop 6 website. Next slide, please. So at this point, I will turn it over to Jason, who'll talk about where they are relative to their outreach for subcontracting for the Cowan Place development.
Jason, before you jump in, I want to remind our attendees to please don't be afraid to use the chat box. We want to make sure that we are answering any questions. Someone did have a question on if you could go back to the slide that has DLB's email information so they can get that. So it is Demetria at consultantsdlb.com. I believe Kristen's going to put that in the chat box for us. And then Gary, I will send this question to you. Pamela Hubbard wants to know, are there any administration positions open for the demolition company? Can you give her the email or the website she can go to for that information? And we'll put that in the chat box as well.
Will do.
And then we'll also make sure that this PowerPoint goes out to all of our attendees today. All right, Jason, you can take it from there, and we'll come back to more questions right after Jason gets done.
Okay, great. Good afternoon, City of Fort Worth. My name is Jason Keller, and I'm the managing partner of Block Companies. We are very proud to be a partner with everybody and to have been selected as a general contractor to build the Cowan Place Senior Living Facility. Thanks so much to Louis Bernardi, Councilwoman Bivens, and the Fort Worth Housing Solutions President, Mary Margaret Lemons. Also want to give a quick shout out to Dr. Gwen Morrison, board member at Tarrant County College, who is also on the call. At Block, we build success one relationship at a time, and we really live by that motto. So we take each and every project and look at it and give it the attention it deserves. I started the company about 15 years ago. Right now, we are currently working in 3 different states, Louisiana, Texas, and Georgia. And we've been very fortunate to be associated with a lot of good people, such as everyone on this call. At Block, we build community empowerment through supporting and growing subcontractors. We are also looking at creating an internship program with the Tarrant County College students and are creating job opportunities for the Stop 6 community residents. Block is committed to creating business and community partnerships that strengthens the local construction community. We want everyone's local involvement. On this particular slide, we'll give you a little information about our marketing plan. We want to make sure that our marketing and outreach is comprehensive to everyone. We want to spread the word about the opportunity to bid Stop 6 Cowan Place Senior Living. Very important. In December and January, be on the lookout for pre-bid advertising that we will put out in targeted Fort Worth publications like La Vida News and Fort Worth Black News. In February, we will announce the bid with advertising in legal sections of major media publications in the city of Fort Worth. Most importantly, we will also strongly encourage minority and women-owned participation in the advertising. And specifically for Section 3 hires, what we typically do is we have a job fair at the beginning of the project, and then as the project progresses and more subcontractors come on, which gives more hiring opportunities for Section 3 residents, we do have job fairs. And the first one I would say would be held in April, basically when we break ground, and then probably halfway through the project as more people come on site. So we should have a lot of opportunities to get the local community involved. At Block, we specialize in multifamily and affordable housing, and we suggest that all of our subcontractors have multifamily experience as well. It's a great help to you. Next slide, please. This is an important form for us. It's our subcontractor information form. It's pretty self-explanatory. It's the first step for us to get to know more about the specialty subcontractor who is interested in bidding the project. The form can be found on the Fort Worth Housing Solutions website. You can see there, you can download it. It's very easy to complete, has a lot of general information, but it does give us a sense of who you are. We ask a little bit about safety and compliance and your past history, just to make sure that we have all the information we can. One last item today is just a reminder, the project is a competitive bid, and the sub with the lowest responsive bid will be awarded the project. We appreciate the opportunity to speak to you today, and we will be ready to bid Cowan Place in the next 45 to 60 days. So please be on the lookout. We will be advertising. We will be doing a lot of outreach, and we're excited and look forward to it. Thanks so much.
I'm putting your internship on my Facebook page right now.
Perfect. I like it.
Thank you, Lou and Jason. I will say we do have a lot of questions, and we have very limited time. If we cannot get to all of your questions, we will email you or put that information on our website. You know, I'm going to plug it in, www.stop6cni.org, or follow us on Facebook, Stop6CNI. Now I will introduce Victor Turner and Shannon Elder, who both are from the city of Fort Worth. Go ahead, Victor.
Thank you, Lachelle. The city of Fort Worth's role is the neighborhood lead in the CNI project, and I want to point out 3 of the building blocks. One is to build on the assets and relationships in the neighborhood. We've done that through several community meetings leading up to the award of the grant, and also to improve the connectivity and infrastructure throughout the neighborhood. We're working with the Urban Land Institute to develop some new activities for the neighborhood plan, which we unveiled in the early part of 2021. And then also the centerpiece of the neighborhood, I think, is the neighborhood hub. Next slide. This is a site plan of the hub and the proposed expansion of the hub. The city of Fort Worth has committed to at least $14 million in the 2022 bond to help finance the construction of the facility. We will have a variety of services that will be provided out of the hub. As you can see, it's located right there adjacent to Rosedale Park. So it'll have access to not only indoor, but outdoor recreation as well. We've also included an enhanced family aquatic center as part of the hub. That we know that swimming and learning how to swim is an important thing to have in the neighborhood. And so we've included that as part of the hub. But our Envision Center that's currently located at the Martin Luther King Center will be relocating to the hub, as well as a library will be there, services for medical, psychological, job training. So a variety of services will be available through the hub. So you would like to think of it as Mary Margaret would say, community center on steroids, but it's much more than a community center, as I described. So depending on the amount of funding that we have for the facility, we've planned for a phased development. So you'll see to the left of the screen, the 9,000 square foot expansion. So in the event that we're still raising funding to build the entire facility, we'll do it in a phased approach. Next slide. This is an outline, a draft outline of the proposed timeline for development of the hub. So to let the public know, it won't be something done just in short fashion. This is about a little over a 2-year time frame from the time the bond would be approved to the grand opening of the hub. We hope to shorten that time frame with some fundraising we're doing on the front end to help with some pre-development costs. But this is an estimate of just how long it will take to get that facility up and running. At this time, I'll turn it over to Shannon.
Good afternoon. I'm Shannon Elder, Assistant Director with the Code Compliance Department. And you may have noticed that we have a special group of code officers that are in the Stop 6 area right now. They're from our neighborhood stability section, and they are currently conducting what we call a Safe Neighborhood Initiative. They started in the area on November 9th, and what they basically do is go property to property and speak with residents about the code violations on their property. It takes about 4 to 6 weeks to finish the entire Safe Neighborhood Initiative, and it has a goal of educating and notifying residents of their existing code violations, and then offering resources and tools in order to help them come into compliance. It is definitely not a heavy-handed initiative, and we only use enforcement action if it is absolutely necessary at the very end. If anybody needs, during this time, anybody needs to contact one of the code officers, I would recommend Galen Johnson, and his email address and phone number are provided here. And then we have actually done Safe Neighborhood Initiatives in this area a few times. And what this will allow us to do is compare today's data to that of the original initiative that happened during the Neighborhood Improvement Program. So things are getting better, and we hope that the residents will come into compliance quickly.
All right, I want to hand it over to our very own president of Fort Worth Housing Solution, Mary Margaret, as she's going to answer some of these questions in our chat box. So Mary Margaret, join us.
Thanks, Lachelle. You guys have a lot of good questions, so I'm excited for all the interaction. So Caleb over at Texas Housers is asking, what is the plan if we are not awarded tax credits? Well, Caleb, that is going to be a huge plan B, because tax credits are relied upon, I think, and I tried to email Caroline while we were on the call to see if she would back me up on 100%, but I think in almost all choice neighborhood developments, tax credits are utilized. So just to let you know, we've worked with TDHCA to let them know about the plan before we got the award, to let them know our application was in so they could understand our plans for the whole neighborhood. And then we've been in contact with them just to bring them up to speed on everything. And they've been very receptive and supportive of our efforts thus far. So we are very hopeful on all of our tax credit applications, but we are committed to this project. Whatever gets thrown at our, in our way, and we will figure out a solution to overcome it. So I don't even want to put it out in the universe that we wouldn't get them, but I can assure you that we will use all the resources we can to deliver on this development. So I think the next question is from Jonathan, and I might get Lou to help me. So he's asking about Section 3 hires, if that is a part of the bid grading. So Lou, you guys really handle most of that. Can you explain the process for Jonathan?
Section 3, well, I think what will happen is the various contractors will break down the portions of the work and break out the subcontracts that way. I think Jason, certainly with Cowan is going to have some grading on that project. As a matter of fact, probably a lot of grading.
I think he's talking about the grading on the RFP process.
Oh, the RFP process. Oh, okay. That, I think that really is a question for Jason. I think I think you'd be looking for qualified firms certainly, and experienced companies, but I think maybe let Jason talk about that a little bit more, because typically what we'll do is to have the general contractor work with the subcontracting community, and we will assist with our outreach through DLB, who's working with us as part of our team, to enhance the work that Jason and other contractors will be doing on their outreach. So Jason, maybe you want to describe how that breaks down.
Sure. Basically, when we bid a project, as I said earlier, we'll send out our bid invitations and solicitations, and it'll be very widespread through different bidding networks, such as iSquareFoot, Construct Connect, things of that nature. Plus, as I said, we put it in the public notice in various newspapers all throughout. So we try to identify and reach out to everybody as we can, as many people as we can. What happens is at that point, subcontracting firms will bid, and as the job starts and they need to hire new employees, as I said, we'll have a job fair, and we will invite all of our subcontractors to participate. We pretty much make it mandatory, and we will have it on site. COVID has been kind of interesting having that lately, but we've still been able to do it and stay distanced and everybody stay masked up. But it's basically a job fair where Section 3 residents or local residents can come in and not only Block, but all of our team partners with us in conjunction with us will reach out and interview people and take applications, etc. And again, we don't only do it in the beginning, we do it in the middle of the project. So as the project progresses, you can imagine you start out, say, with site work, grading, and concrete, but as the project is framed, for instance, then you're going to have mechanical, electrical, plumbing, sheetrockers, painters, flooring contractors. There will be many, many trades out there. So when they come on site, we will also have another job fair to encourage hiring at that point of Section 3 as well. So that there will be a lot of opportunities.
Okay, thank you, Jason.
Sure.
So Lily Biggins is saying that there's many people out of work who might be fit for work on this project, and she's asking who's managing the employment process. So Demetria Bivens is the main contact to get any employment opportunity to parties that might be interested. So that DLB information that Lachelle shared earlier and that we'll send out again, it's on our Stop 6 website. That is the one-stop shop for all things employment related to the Stop 6 choice neighborhood. And then we have another question about how to apply. And so again, work with DLB and check our website frequently. Please get on the list to get notified of events and upcoming opportunities. Let me see. Same question about how to become a subcontractor. Please work with Demetria. They will get you lined up and in the system.
Margaret.
Yes, ma'am.
Margaret. Jonathan and I have this running competition, and what I tell him is I don't want to meet anybody he knows that I know who's not registered in Section 3. And so for Lily and others attending this type of call who are new to the call, Section 3 is all about jobs, but it's all about jobs with the Cavill area people in mind. And so just know we've got them covered. That was one of the things that Mr. Babers harped about all the time in terms of Section 3 opportunities. And I'm just glad that we've got Demetria Bivens involved, because with her work with Texas Star, people know that she's the kind who's meeting the guys under the tree. And so, that's an example that she uses. Anyone who has a business, and I don't care what kind of business it is, we refer them to sign up with the Section 3 HUD registry. And if you know anyone, don't worry about explaining it. If they are a business person, just send them to that website, and Demetria and everybody on this call will take it from there. We don't want anyone who has a business or who knows how to do some skills who doesn't know about Section 3. Is that overkill or not?
No, that's perfect, Ms. Evans, and I appreciate you mentioning that. And Leslie and Bradley from the Fort Worth head office is on the phone, and this is a big HUD initiative as well as something that the Housing Authority is committed to. So we've all worked together really well here locally to make sure we get the word out and educate people. And Demetria is just a great resource to bring to this project to ensure that we're meeting the goals, because those goals are pretty lofty. And we want to make sure that we not only meet them but exceed them. So I think most of the questions, there's one question about the MLK Center that Victor answered in the chat. So if you're on the phone, Reverend Michael Moore asked if the MLK Center would be moving to the community center, and Victor Turner did respond that it would be moved to the proposed hub. So most of the other questions I see, Workforce Solutions is on the line, Lily, as well. So they're a partner and they're signed up with us. That she made that suggestion, and I appreciate it. But I think we've pretty much covered it by giving Demetria's information to everybody.
Also, I want to plug, when we're talking about employment, and this may not mean a lot to you all, but it definitely means a lot to us here. We've had an on-site job fair, but when we went to the park working with Demetria, my workforce coordinator, went to the park and was talking to, we have hired 4 individuals from the community. One is a well-known gentleman that cleans and picks up the community park here. Another is a former Calvo resident that worked for the city over 30 years and he retired. So being able to employ them here on site is wonderful, but you guys should see the list. We have people coming to our door, knocking on the door every day asking, do we have any more jobs available for the on-site abatement and demolition? That brings joy to us here. So we know that the numbers of COVID have increased. So what we did, we created a binder, put that the list for them to put their contact information and their name. So when things become available, we have a ready to go to list and be able to contact those. And Gary people at First Priority, One Priority have been great in working with us, as well as Demetria. So let's go Stop 6. With that being said, I will turn it over to the Brian Dennison to give us a future look ahead. Thank you, Brian.
Okay, thank you, Lachelle, and thank you everyone for joining the call. I very much appreciate it. And I want to thank Councilwoman Bivens for just mentioning our good friend, Mr. Don Babers. He has been an integral part of this whole process. And, today with his memorial service going on, we just want to commemorate him and all that he's done. At the heart of who he is really at the heart of this Calvo Stop 6 CNI. So thank you for bringing that up. And I didn't want to let that opportunity go without just mentioning that. So let's talk about next steps. I think we get started with, let's kind of recap what we've done in 2020. And we still have 6 weeks remaining. So we started off with, we don't never touch it too often, but we started off with our tenant replacement, or our tenant being placed in different units throughout the city of Fort Worth. This whole development starts with them, and then how they're treated. Section 3 starts with our tenants. And so I don't want to let that get lost in translation, that at the heart of what we're working on, besides this development, is our tenant component of that. So it was I wouldn't call it a chore, but imagine moving 300 families from one place to another throughout the city of Fort Worth, and I'll let it stop there. So thank you for our team at Housing Solutions with Sonia and with Lachelle in making that happen. Very much appreciated. So in 2020, aside from us receiving the award, we've had a significant amount of community engagement, and not just what I would call let's meet, let's talk. I'm talking about community engagement that is involved with the stakeholders, that is involved with jobs, it is involved with design. We have touched the stakeholders and the community engagement in every phase of this. The other things that we've done in 2020, just start, if you, next time you drive down Rosedale, take a look at Cowan. by the end of this year, the beginning of January, February, it will be there no longer. So Calvin is not just a demo and abatement. It's going to require addressing infrastructure issues there. It's going to involve environmental clearance. It's going to involve quite a few components that come along with that, including the site clearing and preparing the ground for phases 2, 3, 4, and also the hub. Quite a big plate for the Calvin footprint itself. And then you've got Cowan Place. Cowan Place, we spent more time than usual on this here. And all those who were involved, you know who you are. The place is going to be absolutely wonderful. It has to be a place that not only Councilwoman Bivens would live in, but my parents would live in as well. And that's what the expectation was. Whoever coined it as a beam of light coming in, that's exactly what it's going to be. And we expect that when we went through that process with Cowan Place, just kind of being what I would call average or just kind of a mediocre place, it just was not going to be acceptable. It had to be of excellence and superior. And I really believe, maybe it's easy for me to say, but I really believe we put in the time, we put in the effort to get exactly that. I don't think once we get started, we will be disappointed with that process. So that's part of what's taking place so far. Now, kind of behind the scenes and kind of the process that's been taking place, also in 2020, we've had zoning meetings, been to the zoning commission, we've been to city council meetings. Our interaction with the city, we have monthly calls with the Stop 6 CNI, calls that Councilwoman Bivens leads for us. We'll be doing replatting, we'll be doing quite a bit. The city touches this every step of the way. Also, I want to mention in terms of 2020, Tarrant County, as it pertains to our taxes. The tax exemption that we have here is kind of the bloodline of how we make all this work. Then we've got the state of Texas. The state of Texas, we've met with them, we've called with them, we've had calls with them. Earlier on the panel, someone mentioned what was taking place there. We spent a lot of time with them. Had it not been for COVID, they would have been up here multiple times. But the point in that, in the state of Texas and the TDHCA, which is an acronym for Texas Department of Housing and Community Affairs, the tax credit QAP, which is the application process, contradicts kind of what we're doing in Calvin and CNI. So it took a lot of hand holding with them. And not only that, we took away that they really got it and wanted to figure out how can we help make this happen. So that was a critical part of what we were doing with the state of Texas. And then of course, I can't leave out HUD. HUD is the CNI administrator. They are providing the grant funds. They are overlooking this process. And probably last, I wouldn't call it least, but the financial piece of this. We're talking about creating jobs. We're talking about all these wonderful things. It starts with how do we address and manage the financial piece of these developments coming up. So we're talking, and we touch it every single day. And I mean that, even on the weekends. Where's our debt coming from? How does it work? How is it stacked? Where's our equity coming from? How do we make it work? Who pays it back? What's soft? Are we getting grants? If so, what are they for? How are they regulated? How do we administer them? And then monitoring. I mean, you don't get all this here without monitoring it. We touch it every single day, all day. So that's a little bit about kind of 2020 in terms of the development, the processes. But now look what we've got now. We've got McCormick Barron Salazar is the developer and master developer for all 6 phases. We've got block companies. We've got One Priority. We've got Bennett Benner, the design partner on it. We've got DLB Associates. I mean, these are all pieces that are critical on how to make this thing move and how to make it work. So now I get to the real topic of the day. What's our prognosis for 2021 and going forward? So let me make it real simple. Ditto 2020, times 3 on steroids. When we enter into 2021, we will have submitted an application for phase 2, which will take place on Amanda and Rosedale. We will have gone through the procurement process with respect to a general contractor, design, every component of it. But a big piece of that is infrastructure. How do we address the infrastructure, not just for phase 2, but for phase 2, 3, 4, and our hub? They all are on the footprint of capital. How do we address that? And so we can't do it phase by phase. We have to do it holistically. And so that's going to be coming on our line in 2021. I think that, one of the things that I would like for you all to kind of take away from this here is to see, to have some concept of the process and the background, so that if you are and you can and you will participate, how do I participate? What's the best thing for us? What's the best thing for my company? What's the best thing for me individually? Well, if you paid attention to what we've talked about, we've set kind of a standard of what it looks like for the development process, the design process. Section 3, every piece of this here will be tied to that. So if you haven't been able to kind of pull things together now, the opportunity is going. Look at 2021, 2022, 2023, and 2024. If you can see that far, given what we've had in 2020, that's what this looks like on the capital footprint going forward.
Now, Brian, you're exciting me, but you're giving me gray hair. I can't think about 2024 yet. I just need to get through the last month or so of 2020. And I'm glad you mentioned something so important. And so you said how to get involved. And so, and Reverend Michael Moore asked a great question about the name of the hub. And so one of the ways we want to make sure that the neighborhood, our stakeholders, the residents, everybody gets involved and has a stake in this is to get your input. And so in 2021, we're going to start doing some polls and getting some ideas on naming future phases and future parts of the development. And so I know Gina said that she's proposed to keep the MLK Center name for the new hub, which is fabulous. But we have many portions of this development that will require input from the community. And so we'll start doing outreach, whether we have to do it by Zoom or at some point we can do it in person like we did back summer of 2019. We want your opinion on the building materials we use, the colors, all of those great things. Of course, we'll make sure that Ms. Bivens approves them too, but we want everybody to feel like this is their community, because it is, and that's the only way that we're going to be successful.
I want to mention something before we go. Looking at the questions, there are quite a few questions from people who are kind of new to what we're doing. We've been living this thing since before I got elected, realistically. So not everybody eats, breathes, and sleeps capital. What I want the audience to know is the Housing Solutions team has their meetings and the city has our meetings as well, because we have to focus on the broader community. And so once we convene the city's meeting in 2021, we'll be taking under consideration a lot of questions that I see that have been covered. But again, not everybody has been living this project. But one thing I think is very important to know, we know one color that will not work in Cavill anywhere, because the tenants of Cavill told us. And Mary Margaret, what color is that?
You mean our red brick, Gina? Is that what you're talking about?
Yeah.
Well, I can tell you all that, we really had wanted to have a large demolition party, and our subcontractors were great about figuring out how to bring in a big piece of machinery to tear down a building and have a big party. But just due to what's going on with the community with COVID, we've decided to cancel our December 2nd event. So if you heard about it at a different meeting or if you've seen it anywhere, please know that we have called that event off, and we will do something in 2021. We are saving the bricks to be able to use them as mementos, but we will not be reusing them in any future development, Ms. Bivens. And the other thing, I saw a question or a comment from Lily about parking, and I'm glad you asked that. It was a conversation we just had today. What we're really excited about is the mixed use that we're going to bring to the community along Rosedale. And I had a great conversation with one of our development team members, Tyler, about how we can best park that mixed use area to ensure that it gets the traffic it needs to stay open, but it doesn't, impede anything along Rosedale or with the residents. And so residents will have dedicated parking, so that won't be an issue. But we are very thoughtful about how this all works with the roadways in the neighborhood. And we've even brought in Michael Morris from COG to have that conversation with us and bring some of his planners on to really be thoughtful and make sure that we do it right, because we're planning on this being, this development being around for a long time. Let's see, did I miss any other questions? Okay, I think that's all the questions I saw. Brian, you have any final thoughts or?
Thank you, Mayor Margaret. No, I sorry if I got a little overexcited. I'm passionate about this here, and I'm looking forward to it. I really am. I want to just thank everyone again, from McCormick Barron, our general contractors, and DLB. I can't appreciate you guys enough, and certainly Councilwoman for having everybody accountable as we go through this process. So thank you all again.
And please don't be strangers. Reach out, check out the website, give us a call if you have any questions. You know where we are. We've been here 80 years. We'll be here for at least another 80. So we hope everybody stays safe and stays healthy and has a great holiday next week.
Thank you very much, everyone.
Bye-bye.
Have a great rest of the day. Bye-bye.
Have a great Thanksgiving.
Thanksgiving. Gotcha.
Bye.